Penguin Random House Audio presents It's Never Too Late to Begin Again. Discovering Creativity and Meaning at Midlife and Beyond by Julia Cameron with Emma Lively. Read for you by Eliza Foss. This book is dedicated to Jeremy Tarcher, whose lifelong creativity inspired us all. Introduction. 25 years ago, I wrote a book on creativity called The Artist's Way. It spelled out, in a step-by-step fashion, just what a person could do to recover and exercise their creativity. I often called that book The Bridge because it allowed people to move from the shore of their constrictions and fears to the promised land of deeply fulfilling creativity. The Artist's Way was used by people of all ages, but I found my just-retired students the most poignant. I sensed in them a particular problem set that came with maturity. Over the years, many of them asked me for help dealing with issues specific to transitioning out of the workforce. The book you're listening to is the distillate of a quarter-century's teaching. It is my attempt to answer what next for students who are embarking on their second act. In this book, you will find the common problems facing the newly retired: too much time, lack of structure, a sense that our physical surroundings suddenly seem outdated, excitement about the future coupled with a palpable fear of the unknown. As a friend of mine worried recently, all I do is work. When I stop working, will I do nothing? The answer is no. You will not do nothing. You will do many things. You will be surprised and delighted by the well of colorful inspiration that lies within you, a well that you alone can tap. You will discover that you are not alone in your desires, and that there are creativity tools that can help you navigate the specific issues of retirement. Those who work the Artist's Way will find some of the tools familiar. Other tools are new, or their use is innovative. This book attempts to address many taboo subjects for the newly retired: boredom, giddiness, a sense of being untethered, irritability, excitement, and depression, to name just a few. It seeks to give its practitioners a simple set of tools that, used in combination, will trigger a creative rebirth. It attempts to prove that everyone is creative, and that it's never too late to explore your creativity. When my father entered retirement after a busy and successful 35 years as an account executive in advertising, he turned to nature. He acquired a black Scotty dog named Blue that he took for long daily walks. He also acquired a pair of birding binoculars and found that the hourly tally of winged friends brought him wonder and joy. He spotted finches, juncos, chickadees, wrens, and more exotic visitors like egrets. He lived half the year on a sailboat in Florida and half the year just outside of Chicago. He enjoyed the differing bird populations and was enchanted by their antics. When it got too dangerous for him to live alone on his boat, he moved to the north permanently, settling into a small cottage on a lagoon. There he spotted cardinals, tanagers, blue jays, owls, and the occasional hawk. When I would visit him, he would share his love of birding. His enthusiasm was contagious, and I found myself buying Audubon prints of the birds my father was spotting. Mounted and carefully framed, the prints brought me much joy. My father's newfound hobby soon became my own, if only in snatches. "It just takes time and attention," my dad would say. Retired, he found he had both. The birds kept my father company. He was thrilled when a great blue heron established a nest within his view. Visiting my father, I would always hope for a glimpse. The herons were lovely and elegant. My father waited for them patiently. His patience was a gift of his retirement. During his high-powered and stress-filled career, he had no dog and no birds, but nature had called to him, and it was a call he was only able to respond to fully once he retired. At age 54, I moved to Manhattan, At age 64, entering my own seniority, I moved to Santa Fe. I knew 2 people who lived in Santa Fe, Natalie Goldberg, the writing teacher, and Alberta Honstein, who raised champion Morgan horses. It could be argued that I had my 2 most important bases covered. I loved writing, and I loved horses. In my 10 years in Manhattan, I had written freely, but I didn't ride. It was an artist's way exercise that moved me to Santa Fe. I had made a list of 25 things that I loved, and high on that list were sage, chamisa, juniper, magpies, red-winged blackbirds, and big skies. In short, a list of the Southwest. Nowhere on the list did New York put in an appearance. No, my loves were all Western flora and fauna: deer, coyotes, bobcats, eagles, hawks. I didn't think about my age when I made my list, although I now realize that the move from New York to Santa Fe might be my last major move. Allotting myself 3 days to find a place to live, I flew from New York to Santa Fe and began hunting. I made a list of everything I thought I wanted: an apartment, not a house, walking distance to restaurants and coffee shops, mountain views. The first place the realtor showed me had every single trait on my list, and I hated it. We moved on, viewing listing after listing. Many of the rentals featured pale carpeting, and I knew from my years in Taos that such carpeting was an invitation for disaster. Finally, late on my first day of hunting, my realtor drove us to a final house. "I don't know why I'm showing you this," she began, winding her way through a maze of dirt roads to a small adobe house with a yard strewn with toys. "A woman with 4 children lives here," she apologized. I peered into the house. Toys and clothing were strewn every which way. Couches were shoved chock-a-block. "I'll take it," I told my startled realtor. The house was nestled among juniper trees. It had no mountain views. It was miles from restaurants and cafes, yet it shouted home to me. Its steep driveway would be treacherous in winter, and I sensed that I would have to become accustomed to being snowbound. But it also featured a windowed octagonal room surrounded by trees. I knew my father would have loved this bird room. I made it my writing room, and I have appreciated my daily dose of aviary enlightenment every day that I have lived here. I have lived in this adobe house halfway up the mountain for almost 3 years now, collecting books and friends. Santa Fe has proven to be hospitable. It is a town full of readers where my work is appreciated. Often I'm recognized from my dust jacket photo. "Thank you for your books," people say. I put my life in Santa Fe together in a painstaking way. My friendships are grounded in common interests. I myself believe creativity is a spiritual path, and my friends number many Buddhists and Wiccans among them. Every 3 months I go back to Manhattan, where I teach workshops. The city feels welcoming, but overwhelming. I identify myself to my students as Julia from Santa Fe. I love living there, I tell them, and it's true. My mail comes to a rickety mailbox at the foot of my drive. I have to force myself to open the mailbox and retrieve it. So much of what I receive is unwelcome. In March of my first year in Santa Fe, I turned 65, but it was in January that my mail became infested with propaganda related to aging. Daily, I would receive notices about Medicare and special insurance targeting me as a senior. The mail felt intrusive, as if I were being watched. Just how, precisely, did the many petitioners know that I was turning 65? I found myself dreading my birthday. I might have felt young at heart, yet I was officially categorized as a senior. The mail went so far as to solicit my payment on a grave site. Clearly, I was not only aging, I was nearing the end of my life. Did I want my family saddled with burial costs? No, I did not. The mail became a mirror that reflected me back in a harsh and unforgiving light. My laugh lines.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?